Hello and welcome to the Stylish Wellness Podcast. I'm Sarah Banks, your guide to mastering personal style and authority. I've built a successful couture business designing handmade wedding dresses and bespoke occasion wear for women who value elegance and individuality. Now I bring that expertise to help ambitious women like you step into your confidence, express your unique style and make an impact, starting with the clothes you wear. If you're ready to elevate your wardrobe, your mindset and your presence, you're in the right place. Let's create a life and a style that truly reflects the remarkable woman you are. Hello, amazing women. So this week I want to talk to you about something slightly different to what I would normally talk to you about. And I want to talk to you about this phrase. And the phrase is high value woman. So I don't know if you've seen it, but there is this phrase going around the internet at the moment. And the phrase is high value woman, as in I'm a high value woman, or how to become a high value woman. Initially, I was intrigued and rather persuaded by this phrase. I'm all about improving myself and spotting areas that might be blind spots. Some of the titles I've seen online are things like 10 traits of a high value woman or 35 etiquette rules of a high value woman. So initially I was rather intrigued by this phrase and I thought, of course, I'd love to have that level of self-regard for myself, that I value myself highly. However, I've changed my mind about that phrase. I don't think it's supportive of women or empowering or a phrase that is useful for women to use amongst themselves. And this is why. Firstly, who is evaluating whether the woman is high value or not? If it's external validation, i.e. someone else is deciding whether you have high value or not, then you should beware. Because why would you want someone else to give you external validation of whether you have any value at all? Number 2, surely all women are high value or have high value. Why would we encourage language between ourselves as women that encourages division? I mean, would you say that to another woman, for example, well, I do X because I'm a high value woman, with a lingering pause while you stare at the other woman who is clearly not high value, in inverted commas? Number 3, it's giving us yet another standard we just don't need to live up to. Number 4, it's a construct that is ultimately negative because it leads us to think, I hope I am a high value woman, because you're thinking you might not be. And fifthly, you're not a value, you're a woman, a human being. We have or hold values. We are not the value itself. And when I was writing these out, that last one, you are not a value, it came last. I wrote them in the order that I thought them. But actually, I think it's the one that has resonated with me most, because we're not objects. I mean, we've spent such a long time as women escaping from being objectified and learning to be personified, if you like. And this idea that we're coming back to some form of value, which can, like a value can, to me, can only be an external situation, because I think that internal acknowledgement that you have a high value, in inverted commas, right, just to talk about that idea, is that you would have self-confidence or you would have self-esteem, and those all come from character building. But a high value woman does not sound to me like it comes from an internal confidence or self-esteem that is based on our actions in the world. For example, you don't have confidence if you don't act confidently or do acts which encourage confidence, right? So that's why a lot of us have low self-esteem or low self-confidence, because we've got into situations where we're not practicing the art and the skill of being confident and having self-esteem. And so to go back to this idea of I'm a high value woman, well, who is validating that? And if you're saying I'm a high value woman, then almost by implication, you're implying that there is low value. Whereas when you say I have self-confidence or I have self-esteem, it is not necessarily implying that other people don't. It's just saying that you do. It's an all-embracive term. I have self-confidence. It doesn't imply that you don't. I'm a high value woman does, because you're saying, because there's high in the phrase. There's high. That implies there's going to be low. And this is so bad. It's just so ridiculous. And one of the other things, but when I was so lured by it, I was so pulled in by it. And to begin with, I thought, oh, that's really interesting. That's great that women would put that, would step up, to that idea of themselves. And it was only after a while that the penny dropped, and I thought, no, this is really insidious. And actually, if you click on those articles, 35 etiquette rules that high value women always keep, which is so ridiculous in itself. It's just like 35 etiquette rules. Are you joking? Anyway, aside from that, when you click on the articles, they're pretty rubbish. So there's nothing intrinsically whole or interesting or academically well thought out or anything like that about those ideals. But the thing that made me think I'm going to start to speak out against it is, this is a phrase that is a catchy enough phrase that it will become part of our ordinary everyday language. And in a few years' time, we'll speak about somebody who sort of has it all together, in inverted commas, another phrase that I don't know that I'm that keen on. We'll say, oh yes, well, of course, she's a high value woman. And we'll put those women on a pedestal and say, oh, well, she's a high value woman, i.e. I'm not. And it's just, this is so wrong. It's just like this language that we're allowing, because there's a tsunami of language coming our way via social media, is really wrong. And we shouldn't be in a situation where we're like, I'm a high value woman and 10 habits of a high value woman. Well, wouldn't you rather read about 10 traits of a busy woman, or 10 traits of a woman who managed to get through the day working with children and a spouse and running a home? That's much more relevant. There's something slightly otherworldly about this idea of a high value woman. There's this sort of implication that that she'll live in this pristine house that no one else can live up to, or have a lifestyle that no one can live up to. And it's really divisive. And I think for women, it's just not encouraging for us. It's one of my points was, I think, it's just another standard for us to live up to. For goodness sake, let's us decide on our own standards, and let them not be that other people deem us to be high value or not high value. I have similar feelings about that other phrase that's going, well, there are lots of phrases, but that phrase that's going around as well, or this idea, this concept of disappear for a month and come back transformed, or disappear for 6 months and come back transformed, or whatever. And to begin with, I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. I must find out about that. And then I thought about it and I thought, this is totally ridiculous, because it's almost worse than high value woman, because there's this idea that you have to sort of sequester yourself away in order to come back and be acceptable to yourself or to the world. The implication is to the world, and you don't want that. You don't want to be basing yourself and what you think about yourself on whether the world accepts you or not. It has to be an internal acknowledgement of oneself, that you love yourself and accept yourself. And then when I was reading what they suggested you did if you disappeared off for a month and then came back a transformed woman, a lot of it was reading books. And I thought, well, plenty of us are going to go on holiday this year for 2 weeks with a reading book list and lie by the pool and just relax for 2 weeks and feel quite transformed. Doesn't that do the trick? Why do you have to go away for a month? Where do you have to hide? It was just all rather ridiculous, I thought. Also, I did also think that if you get to the stage where you've actually got to go off and hide for a month to do stuff and come back feeling like yourself, then you should probably be looking at your lifestyle, because there's something wrong if you've got to go away for a month and do that kind of thing. And if in all seriousness you did actually feel like you needed to get away for a month from everything, and it was going to take a month for you to feel well enough within yourself to come back and tackle your ordinary everyday life, then I would suggest that it's your ordinary everyday life that needs addressing, not you going away for a month. Having said that, I'm all for women being able to have a month away to do whatever they want to do. But this idea of come back transformed, this idea that there has to be some form of proof of worth that you've taken that month off. Like, how about a headline of go away for a month and have a nice time? Go away for a month and, well, actually, if you did something like go away for a month and become yourself again, I think people would click on that. I don't want to do the clickbaity kind of stuff. But in a way, that's better, isn't it, than come back transformed or come back a different person. There's this idea that we're not already okay. And I think that what I'm trying to say in these two examples, particularly the first one, the one about high value woman, because that's the original idea I had, is you're already okay, right? You're already totally acceptable, totally lovable. You have endless amounts of lovability. You have endless amounts of self-confidence and self-esteem to develop for yourself. The world is completely your oyster. You can develop your character completely as you want. You can live your life completely as you want. And don't be tramlined by these ridiculous phrases like high value woman. Just makes me want to cringe, really. Anyway, I hope you find that interesting and thought-provoking. And there's so much social media out there. There's so much written word and spoken word and visual everything, which is great. But just be really aware when you're looking at stuff and being pulled in by stuff, because it seems like a light bulb moment and you think, oh, that seems like a good idea. But then really go back and reflect and think, what actually is this doing for me? And what is it doing for me in relation to other women? Because the world is very clever how it will put women down. And I think this high value woman phrase is an example of that. You may not think that, of course, and you're totally entitled to your own opinion. But for me, it was a red flag to remind myself that my value comes from within, and I say what my value is. That is important to me, and my value actually doesn't come from anything that I do. For example, I work out every day and earn whatever. That means I'm a high value woman. That to me is irrelevant, because we are human beings. We're not human doings, as a friend always used to remind me. We are humans in a state of beingness on this planet, not in a state of doingness. And of course, our daily lives push us into a state of doingness, where we judge ourselves and our success in our daily lives by how much we've done or accomplished or whatever. But actually, we are human beings, and we're here to be, to exist, to enjoy this world and take advantage of every gift that there is for us to be able to enjoy. So that, amazing women, is what I have for you this week. It's short and sweet, and it is my slight rant on this idea of high value woman coupled with disappear for a month and come back transformed. And I would like to know what you think about this. And so tomorrow, I don't know when you're going to be listening to this, Wednesday, so Thursday, I'll put up a link on the Instagram feed for Working Fox that just mentions high value woman. And if you have any comments, I would really like to hear them, because I'd like to know whether you feel the same as me, that you thought to begin with that it was quite an intriguing phrase and then realized that you didn't actually quite like it that much? Or whether do you actually quite like it and you think that, it's sort of served you well, that it's touched a chord with you and you really like it? I hope that wherever you are well, and that you have a good rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you same place, same time next week. Bye for now.